Villainy, murder and chilling apparitions await the Most Haunted team as we travel to Argyll.
And this week I brought my team north of the border to a place where extreme punishment, harsh treatment and death were a regular occurrence. Welcome to Most Haunted and to Inverary Jail.
Inveraray Jail is a 19th century prison and the former county courthouse for Argyll. The prison did not discriminate, with over 6,000 men, women, children, the sane and the insane serving their time here in cold, damp cells. Inmates were kept in solitary confinement, sleeping alone, dining alone and working alone, in a move designed to improve character and maintain their health. It is thought that many long-term prisoners would have been forced to spend their final days here, alone in their cells. Many visitors to the jail have reported terrifying spiritual activity. Dark figures are said to cower in the corners, children have spoken to unseen entities, and the sounds of footsteps with no visible owner echo across the corridors.
Usually the courtyard would have been the only place people wanted to go, the only time they would get fresh air and feel a small sense of freedom in an otherwise forgotten world. But now it is a place of fear, as some of the lost imprisoned souls still roam, filling anyone who witnesses them with abject fear. Although conditions in the new prison were better than the old, life would still have been unbearable to today's standards. It's not just deserted inmates that are said to haunt this place. The spirits of some fearsome former guards still pace the floors of the prison, still wanting to keep everything forcefully in check. They've been seen with stark regularity, big, fearsome and violent. In the old prison, life was very harsh indeed. In the kitchen, dark figures cowering behind doors and in corners have reputedly been seen. Visitors to the jail have heard the words, "Open the door and go," eerily spoken. People have noted seeing children who were visiting the jail talking in cells, but no other person is visibly there. Many dogs refuse to enter or go anywhere near cell number 10. A spirit that takes extreme pleasure in trying to scare people haunts the entire prison, pacing up and down. Its heavy footsteps can be heard echoing through the corridors. The ghosts of 2 women prisoners are thought to haunt cell number 1 on the ground floor, forever trapped within the walls they were once forced to live in.
To discern fact from fiction, can historian Leslie Smith cast some light on Inverary Jail's dark past?
It was designed specifically to work alongside the courthouse, which also worked here, and it looked after the whole of Argyllshire and the islands, so it was a really massive area. The idea of the people who were held here in the prison is that they should not stay here more than a year, so consequently there were thousands of people who came through its doors. When you look at the records of this place, it is extraordinary to realise that a number of people who were convicted of murder were not put to death when one expects it for even minor offences, but were instead transported or subjected to 10 years hard labour. The exception to all of these rules was one man who killed his son with a stool and subsequently served 13 years here in the jail.
So I'm now standing in the courtroom of Inverary Jail, built 1820. Originally there was only 8 small cells to cover the whole of Argyll and all of its islands. A very big area geographically for only 8 small cells.
It was a place people feared, and they need to, not just because of the crowded conditions, but for the new ideas that were coming in for penal reform that was sweeping through England, Scotland and across in America. The ghosts that haunt Inverary Jail, dark figures, are seen crouching in the yard and are seen almost running dog-like across the yard to get away, as if getting under the lights, and no wonder, because some people did escape successfully from this jail. Some cells are more dominated by spirit activity than others, particularly cell 10 and cell 1.
Many of our visitors, as regard to ghost stories, would say that there is a strange presence around the jail. A lot of people don't like going near cell number 10 for some reason. Dogs will stop in corridors, maybe not go further into any other cells. Paranormal activity, I would probably say you get more in the new prison. Bigger prison, more prisoners, 12 cells in there, only 8 cells in the old prison, so maybe a lot more room. And there's more men in the new prison, and we've always more men in prison than women, because apparently they're always naughtier.
It appears that Inveraray Jail has a history of strange occurrences. What does parapsychologist Dr. Kieran O'Keefe make of this alleged activity?
Inverary Jail, absolutely fascinating, because there's 2 jails, a sort of more modern one, which is just quite funny because it's still quite old, and then you've got the older one where it must have been horrendous to be men, women and children all locked up together. An awful lot of paranormal activity, so I'm just so excited about being here.
It's great, and I think as people watch the investigation unfold, there'll be this realisation that the modern prisons, they kind of put across this air of comfort, in a way. And although people are incarcerated for long periods of time, and there's that aspect to it, seeing Inverary Jail will make people realise that these cells, it was pure hell actually being incarcerated in this place. It really was.
What do you think about the ghost of the jailer? He sounds incredibly menacing and quite horrid.
It is horrific, and it's very, very unusual, this idea that this apparition of this very negative jailer, this, you know, clanking along the bars of the door with his truncheon or whatever it is, but people report this very aggressive, very negative face coming towards them, but then it just dissipates into nothing.
You see, that scares me to death. If I saw something like that tonight, well, you wouldn't see me for dust. How horrid is that, though?
It is, yeah.
What do you think about the poltergeist activity that's been reported there? Why is it, to me, it seems that whenever we investigate jails, there always seems to be poltergeist activity. The stone throwing or movement of something, some kind of another. Why do you think that is, in jails particularly? It's
very odd, and it's at this point we have to step back from the traditional view of poltergeist as being a person-focused phenomena, as being associated with often a teenager going through adolescence. Let's leave that aside. Poltergeist is essentially noisy spirit and often malevolent spirit. Because of that, is it really any surprise that we find poltergeist activity in prisons where there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of malevolence associated with those particular locations, both on the sides of the prisoners? These are people that have committed horrific crimes at the end of the day, but also there is this negative association with the people that would have actually run the place. These weren't necessarily the nicest people in the world, so there's locations where there's an intense focus of negativity, and I don't find it surprising that we have poltergeist activity.
Well, I hope that we see, well, I hope that I don't see this horrible jailer. I hope you see him. I hope he runs at you.